Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishnaya Vasudevaya. Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So Hare Krishna, this evening we are reading from Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter number 2, contents of Gita summarized. So today we will be speaking on verse number 17. Avināśi tu tad viddhi yena sarvam idam tatam vināśam avyayasya na kaścit kartum arhati. Avināśi tu tad viddhi yena sarvam idam tatam vināśam avyayasya na kaścit kartum arhati. Avināśi, imperishable. Tu, but. Tat, that. Viddhi, know it. Yena, by whom. Sarvam, all of the body. Idam, this. Tatam, pervaded. Vināśam, destruction. Avyayasya, of the imperishable. Asya, of it. Na kaścit, no one. Kartum, to do. Arhati, is able. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Purport ki. That which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy the imperishable soul. Purport. This verse more clearly explains the real nature of the soul, which is spread all over the body. Anyone can understand what is spread all over the body. It is consciousness. Everyone is conscious of the pains and pleasures of the body in part or as a whole. This spreading of consciousness is limited within one's own body. The pains and pleasures of one body are unknown to another. Therefore, each and every body is the embodiment of an individual soul, and the symptom of the soul's presence is perceived as individual consciousness. This soul is described as 1/10,000th part of the upper portion of the hair point in size. Śvetāśvatara Upaniṣad 5.9 confirms this. Balagara shatabhagasya shatada kalpitasya cha bhago jiva sa vigyeya sa chantyaya kalpate. When the upper point of a hair is divided into 100 parts, and again each of such part is further divided into 100 parts, each such part is the measurement of the dimension of the spirit soul. Similarly, the same version is stated. Keshagara shatabhagasya shatamsha sadrisham kakha jiva sukshma swarupayam sankhya ithato hi chitkana. There are innumerable particles of spiritual atoms which are measured as 1/10,000th the upper portion of the hair. Therefore, the individual particle of soul is a spiritual atom smaller than the material atoms, and such atoms are innumerable. This very small spiritual spark is the basic principle of the material body, and the influence of such a spiritual spark is spread all over the body, as the influence of the active principle of some medicine spreads throughout the body. This current of the spirit soul is felt all over the body as consciousness, and that is the proof of the presence of the soul. Any layman can understand that the material body minus consciousness is a dead body, and this consciousness cannot be revived in the body by any means of material administration. Therefore, consciousness is not due to any amount of material combination, but to the spirit soul. In the Mundaka Upanishad 3.1.9, the measurement of the atomic spirit soul is further explained. Esho nuratma chetasa vidya yasmin prana panchadha samvishesham pranaishchittam sarvam optam prajanam yasmin vishuddhe vibhavaya esha atma. The soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. This atomic soul is floating in 5 kinds of air, namely prana, apana, vyana, samana and udana. He is situated within the heart and spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. When the soul is purified from the contamination of the 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. The Hatha Yoga system is meant for controlling the 5 kinds of air, encircling the pure soul by different kinds of sitting postures, not for any material profit, but for liberation of the minute soul from the entanglement of material atmosphere. So the constitution of the atomic soul is admitted in all Vedic literatures, and it is also actually felt in the practical experience of any sane man. Only the insane man can think of this atomic soul as all pervading Vishnu Tattva. The influence of the atomic soul can be spread all over a particular body. According to Mundaka Upanishad, this atomic soul is situated in the heart of every living entity. And because the measurement of the atomic soul is beyond the power of appreciation of the material scientists, some of them assert foolishly that there is no soul. The individual atomic soul is definitely there in the heart along with the super soul, and thus all the energies of the bodily movement are emanating from the part of the body. The corpuscles which carry the oxygen from the lungs gather energy from the soul. When the soul passes away from this body, the activity of the blood generating fusion ceases. Medical science accepts the importance of the red corpuscles, but it cannot ascertain that the source of the energy is the soul. Medical science, however, does admit that the heart is the seat of all energies of the body. Such atomic particles of the spirit whole are compared to the sunshine molecules. In the sunshine, there are innumerable radiant molecules. Similarly, the fragmental parts of the Supreme Lord are atomic sparks of the rays of the Supreme Lord, called by the name Prabha or superior energy. So whether one follows Vedic knowledge or modern science, one cannot deny the existence of the spirit soul in the body, and the science of the soul is explicitly described in the Bhagavad-Gita by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuruntamena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in this chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, what we see, from verse 2.11 until verse 2.30. So there are different qualities of the souls. They are mentioned by Lord Krishna. Also in many other chapters also some other qualities are explained. So basically today's verse, it explains avyayasya. Avyaya means, that is, the soul is indestructible and it cannot be destroyed. So in material world today what we see, but everything is destroyed. But today, especially aircrafts which are flying, either it is a jet aircraft or commercial, any aircraft, they have a black box. So this black box, what it does, it records the conversation between the pilot and the ATC, where the aircraft is going, taking off, whatever it is. So what happens once the aircraft, if by accident it ditches or catches fire, whatever it is. So this black box, it is active. There is a duration of time for, in material sense. So it will be active for 1 month. If you recover, then you can get all the information how this mishap took place, whatever it is. So in material world also it is feasible to do certain thing, but that black box has a certain period of time. Once it starts it stops giving the pulse, because there is a battery, inbuilt battery. So it is sending a pulse. And like many times when aircraft they fall in the ocean, so they are looking for that pulse to pick up that black box. So you can see this in modern science, it is possible. Also in today's modern science, they explain that our body has an aura. All of you know what is aura? Our body has a subtle aura. Also now modern science, they have made one camera by which your body aura can be recorded or it can be printed. So if you go to this thing in Google, you will get so many information about aura and other things. So that I'll explain later on. So basically the theme of this verse and tomorrow, the same, it explains that the soul cannot be killed and the body cannot be saved from death. Jatasya hi dhror mrityum. For one who is born, death is certain. So it is mentioned that when we are born, X number of breaths are recorded in our lifespan. Now it depends how many breaths you take. So this, especially yogis and all, how they increase their lifespan just by reducing the number of breaths. So does anyone know how many breaths we take in a minute? And does anyone know how many breaths we take knowingly, unknowingly?
72.
Huh?
72.
No. That is pulse. That's heartbeat. How many breaths? Between 16 to 18. An average man, he takes. Whereas, the turtle, it takes like a breath every 3 or 4 minutes. The turtles which are in the ocean, they come up, they take breath, they go down like that. So the lesser the breath, so and the higher the lifespan. In material sense also we can see elephant, whales and all, some species of life they are there. So here this today's verse, what it mentions that all living bodies, they have two souls. That is, one is Anu Atma, that we are Anu Atma, and the Lord is called Vibhu Atma or Paramatma. So now here what we see, Prabhupada writes, symptoms of the soul. Now what is the symptom of the soul? It is consciousness. And till today, medical science, they deny this consciousness. Medical science, what they say, whatever is happening in your body is a combination and manipulation of different, chemicals. So if you hear Prabhupada morning walks, so one simple analogy Prabhupada gives, okay, if they say everything is made from chemical, so can they create citric acid? From earth, you see, you get everything, but the earth. So what Prabhupada explains, okay, if you say from a hen, egg comes, and that egg is completely made of chemicals, so you make a egg and you fill it with chemicals and you sit on that. And can you hatch a chicken or a hen? No, not possible. So how they, in poultry, how they hatch the small baby chicks? just by giving that temperature, which is also created by a hen sitting on the eggs. So basically what Prabhupada explains, no matter that medical science, how much they bombard or boast, they can't even create one blade of grass. What Prabhupada says, like medical science is a like post-dated check. Post-dated check means there is no certainty that yes, you will get that money. So material sense, what we see, what Prabhupada explains here, that by any means we should be convinced that there is a consciousness is the symptom of the soul. And most of the conversations, even Prabhupada, wherever he has gone throughout the world, so Prabhupada has given more or less lectures on basically the soul and body and the soul. And Bhagavad-Gita, what we see, Krishna, he has given 5 main topics: Paramatma, Jivatma, Prakriti, Kal and Karma. So this chapter, what we see, more or less this chapter, it gives more in-depth knowledge compared to other Vedic literatures. And Prabhupada has quoted more than 3 to 4 verses. It is amazing from different scriptures. The size of the soul, what Prabhupada writes. So now Prabhuji is doctor. So I don't know if somebody else, there may be doctor, but anyone knows in the microscope, if you put the tip of the hair, so that tip of the hair, it can be divided into how many parts? Just let me complete my. So now here, this soul, it is mentioned that it is divided into 1,000. That again 1,000, it is divided into 100 part. That is 1/10,000 part of the tip of the hair. So Prabhupada writes in the Purport, the soul is smaller than the atomic soul. Everyone is getting the point? Prabhupada writes in the Purport, the soul is smaller than the atomic soul. So now my question was, yes, anyone can tell that tip of the hair, it can be divided into how many parts, sub parts we can do the tip of a hair in a microscope as per medical science?
At least 4 times only.
I know one surgeon in Bombay, so that is his statement.
This spiritual atom is smaller than material atom.
Material atom. So it can be at the most can be divided into 270 parts. 270 parts. Yeah, not more than that. That this is like 20 years back. Now, if there is an advanced microscope, then maybe different thing. If we see the astronomers, they also have a telescope. They are looking in the sky, what is happening, how these planetary systems they are working. So here Prabhupada explains that individual consciousness. So now here, supposing we are 25, 30 people in number. So we are individually conscious. So I am conscious when I feel hungry, when I feel tired. So we are individually conscious. But the Lord, He is supremely conscious because He is seated in everyone's heart. Ishvara sarva bhutanam riddeshu arjuna tishtati. Also 15th chapter Krishna explains matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. From Krishna we get remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. So Bhagavad-Gita, if you see in the 3rd chapter also 3.42, Krishna explains how the soul is higher. Indriyani parani ahur indriyabhya paramam mana manasastu para buddhir yo buddhe parastu saha. What Krishna explains, the working senses, the body, are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And the soul is even higher than intelligence. In a hierarchy, what we see, the soul is the ultimate. And also in our body is divided into 3 parts. One is material body, second is subtle body. What is that subtle body? False ego. False ego means we have a real ego that we are the servants of the Lord, but because of living in material world, that becomes false ego. Actually there is one real ego also. And the spiritual atom, that soul, that is the 3rd part of this material body, so which cannot be destroyed. So here Prabhupada explains that the consciousness is spread all over the body, and one can experience the pain and pleasure of the body, and all of us have this experience only. But in today's world, like some people, they go into coma, some people, their body, they get some disease by which their organs, body, different limbs, they become numb. Numb means they can't feel anything. So that is a different thing. But we should know, within our body there are so many germs. Our body is full of germs, but there is one soul who is the master of this body. Like one time somebody made a question, even after death of the body, the hairs, how they grow, how the nails they grow. So it is very difficult to know that if the soul is gone, the master of the body, but once the body dies, within 6 hours the body starts rotting, and within that body there will be so many germs and other microbes, bacteria, they start breeding. They are different souls, but the master, the main master of the body, who is the soul, he has gone. That should be the understanding. So now in our regular day-to-day life, we are basically governed by 3 stages of consciousness. One is the fourth ultimate. So these 3 stages of consciousness is called Jagriti, Swapna and Susupti. So Jagriti means wakefulness. You are awake. And now supposing you are sitting in this room, you know what is happening around, at least in the front, not in the back. So that is called Jagriti, when you are awake. Okay? So when Swapna means when you are in deep sleep, dreaming, your consciousness is out. You are gone to some different places, you are dreaming. That is called Swapna. And in your dream, you are in different places. And Susupti means deep sleep. Like our deep sleep is between, if you see in this thing, there we have 4 Vedas. There's one thing mentioned that there are 4 kinds of sleep. So between night 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock, that is called nectarian sleep. That also in medical science, what they say, 2 hours before midnight is equal to 4 hours after midnight. So the best sleep you get between 10 to 12. That is the best sleep. From 12 to 3, that is a subtle sleep when you are dreaming. And then between 3 to morning sunrise until the Brahma Muhurat, that sleep, it is called Dukkha-kara, means it is miserable. You are having so many bad dreams and all. And after that, when you are sleeping, even the sun comes up, that is a dead sleep, that is Mrityumai. That is called Mrityumai. So these are the 3 stages. And Susupti means deep sleep, where consciousness is camouflaged. You know, camouflage means our consciousness is covered. That is the deep sleep. And the 4th sleep, which is called Vishuddha Sattva or Vasudeva Sattva. Vasudeva Sattva means Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvam Iti Sah Mahatma. When we come to know everything is being controlled by the Lord. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. 18th chapter also mentions that. So that is the 4th stage of consciousness. When we come to know, yes, like also under this soul, one shloka is there, 7.14, that Prakriti Kriyamanani Gunai Karmani Sarvasha Ahankar Vimudatma Kartahamiti Manyate. That bewildered spirit soul, what he thinks, I am the doer. More or less in material world today, what we see, what is happening throughout the world, because of the bewildered soul, what he thinks is, I am the doer. That is the wrong notion. So in the Bhagavatam 10th canto, the Song of the Bee, there's a verse number 47 number chapter, there's one nice verse which explains about these 3 qualities of the soul. Atma Jnana Maya Shuddho Viraktriyo Gunavayaha Susupti Swapna Jagradhabhir Maya Vrittibhir Iyate. It is mentioned that being composed of pure consciousness or knowledge, the soul is distinct from everything material and is uninvolved in the entanglements of the modes of nature. There are 3 modes of nature. We can perceive the soul through the 3 functions. What is that? Namely, wakefulness, sleep and deep sleep. These are those who are in material consciousness. But when we come to Krishna consciousness, Vishuddha Sattva, That is the fourth stage of our consciousness. And Prabhupada has given first reference from Mundaka Upanishad. We read that. So what Prabhupada explains that it can be pursued by perfect intelligence. Also in the medical science, there are some terminologies, OBE, that is out of body experience, and there is another terminology called NDE, near death experience. So when a person in operation theater, so usually it is seen that yes, that soul comes out of the body, and the soul is seeing what is happening, how the doctor they are doing the surgery, what they were speaking, everything. There is one real life story. So one time, one person, he was undergoing a surgery, but he came out of the body. Then he went to the hospital terrace top. So he saw everything. So many, things were topsy-turvy there. So after operation, when it became normal, so he told the doctor, "See, doctor, when you are doing my operation, I came out of my body." He said, "Okay." So what did he do? I went to the terrace top of this hospital and I saw so many shortcomings. Why don't you correct them? So doctor was mystified. So he told that hospital staff, this is what is there. Because usually we don't see what is happening on the terrace top. So then the doctor could understand, but he still didn't accept. And there are so many doctors, they have studied this near-death experience, and they have studied we are studying that case studies of rebirth. There is one doctor, Michael Sabom. He has studied more than 10,000 cases. There is one lady doctor in India, Pasricha. She is in Bangalore. She also has studied more than 10,000 cases of reincarnation. So in essence, what we should know, that yes, that although the body is destroyed, the soul doesn't get destroyed. And if you see, just 100 years back, the computer, anyone if knows, computer means all adding things. Okay, the computer was that size of a big room. Now all of you know, it is fitting on your palm. Okay, so 100 years back, that was the size of a big room. And how many of you have seen LP records? Anyone knows what is LP? Yeah, it is to be a big, paratha size. Then they have a small LP. Then later on the recorders came. During Purport time there were recorders, big recorders. Then the CD came. After that CD, what came? Anyone knows? Pen drive. Then we have that CD, small CD. Okay. After that, pen drive.
Result of the 10,000 studies?
What? Satwanth Pasricha, there is female lady doctor.
So what she found out?
And they agree. She agrees. There are so many. She has written book also. Also now, after pen drive, anyone knows what is the more higher than pen drive? Nowadays they are putting all the data in. That is okay. That is SD card, cloud. Now Google and many other companies, what they say, if you have Google account, you can put all your, whatever data you want to save, your phone numbers, many other things, that can be put in the cloud. They give you 2 GB, 4 GB, whatever it is. It is like dangling of carrot, whatever it is. So here, Prabhupada further, he explains, the soul is atomic in size, can be pursued only by perfect intelligence. And Prabhupada explains, atomic soul is floating in the 5 kinds of airs, prana, apana, vyana, samana and udana. Prabhupada has given a good number of purports on this. I will read from one purport what Prabhupada writes. In our body there are 10 kinds of air. Here it is mentioned 5 kinds of air, they are in the heart. Okay. So now how these 10 kinds of air they work, we'll just go through. The 10 kinds of air are described as follows. The main air passing through the nose, breathing, is called prana, pranavayu. Okay, this is main among the 10 airs, this is the main. Okay. Then the air which passes through the rectum is evacuated body air, is called apana. The air which agitates the foodstuff within the stomach which sometimes sounds as belching, is called samana. The air which passes through the throat and the stoppage of which constitutes suffocation is called udana air. And the total air which circulates throughout the entire body is called yena. Then subtler than these 5 airs, there are other airs also, that which facilitates opening our eyes and mouth. Now, how many of you have seen dead body? Dead body, the jaw falls down and the eyes, they just go off. This thing opens out. So nowadays we have this, JCB and all, how they work. This all vehicles which have air brake and all. This is a hydraulic system. Also our body, this air, it works like a hydraulic system here in one sense. That which facilitates opening the eyes, mouth, etc. is called naga air. The air which increases appetite is called kakkara. Then the air which helps contraction is called kurma air. The air, because kurma, it pulls all the limbs in the body. The air which helps relaxation by opening the mouth wide, yawning, is called by the name Devadatta. The air which helps sustenance is called Dhananjay, which sustains our body. So these are the 10 airs Prabhupada has mentioned a good number of times. So now Prabhupada explains the soul is situated within the heart and spreads its influence all over the body. Now you can see here this light, that the light is spread all over because the electricity is flowing. Similarly, in our body, because the soul is there. Now I was speaking about the body aura, so now I'll speak little about that. Unseen spiritual energy field. Unseen spiritual energy field. Like if you go to a tower, mobile tower, I was in the Navy, we have this radar and many other things, electronic equipments where the electrical energy is very high. If you go there, you will get that negative energy in the body. So here what it mentions, unseen spiritual energy field, according to spiritual beliefs, an aura or human energy field is colored emanation said to enclose a human body or any animal or object. In some esoteric positions, the aura is described as subtle body. Psychic or holistic medicine practitioners often claim to have the ability to see the size, color and type of vibrations of an aura. So one time I had gone to this cow protection mela, South India. So there one doctor had come and he had one sensor, very special sensor, and he was giving a seminar on that consciousness about different plants. So he bought one tulsi plant and he told tulsi, in the Vedic scripture there is a mention that tulsi plant also has an aura. It is called Divya Kanti Valayam. Kanti means aura. In Sanskrit, Kanti means Surya Kanti, what we say. So this doctor, what he said, that see, as per our Vedic tradition, we keep tulsi in the front. Also we have cows and all. So what he told, that we circumambulate tulsi, but we don't know exactly what benefit we get. So he told one person to circumambulate the tulsi around 15 to 20 times. Before circumambulating, he took the aura of that person's body. It was just 1 meter aura. So he had that aura measurement machine. Then he told this person, and after that person he circumambulated that tulsi. So then he pointed that machine to that person. So his body aura went to 5 meters. Aura means range, protection range. Protection range, when you are going in the rain, you have an umbrella. It will only cover you. So if you take a very big umbrella, it will cover you. The bigger the size of the umbrella, the bigger the area it will cover. Also when an animal is tied, it depends how much the rope you are leaving loose. If it is a very and a bad animal, then we give him a small space. If it is good, liberal, then you give him good space to go around. So similarly, this aura, it is also awakening in our spiritual body when we are constantly doing our devotional service. it is mentioned that our body also becomes spiritual. Like Prabhupada gives the example of an iron. When the iron is put in the fire, gradually that also becomes red hot like the fire. So Prabhupada explains that influence of the soul all over the body, material body minus consciousness is equal to dead body. Prabhupada has given one calculation. Material body minus consciousness is equals a dead body. And in the Bhagavatam, there is one nice story spoken by Hiranyakashipu. So Hiranyakashipu, what happened when Hiranyaksha was killed? So all the family, they were mourning the death of Hiranyaksha. So that time Hiranyakashipu, he started speaking philosophically. And he told there is one Puranic story that there was a king, he was living in Ushinara and his name was Suyagya. So one time he went on a war, and while fighting the war, he died in a very brave position, pointing out his teeth outside and clutching his hands. So somehow he got killed in the war. And what happened when his queens, they came to the war field, and they were beating on the chest, they were lamenting, and their crying, that sound was heard by Yamraj in the Yamraj abode. So Yamraj, what he thought, okay, I have to go and pacify these people. So the evening was coming and they were not allowing to take that body of the king. So Yamraj, he comes there in the form of a small child, and he tells these queens, he tells them, you are all foolish. Even if you cry here until the time you die, he will not come to life. Even if you keep crying here all the while, he is not going to come to life. And what he explains, in material world, Mare Krishna Rake Krishna Mare Ke. So he explains that I am living in this forest, I am a small boy, and this forest is being surrounded by so many wild animals. Still I am protected. So you are all foolish. You are just lamenting for the dead body. So this way Yamraji, he gives them a insight in spiritual consciousness. Similarly, we have the story of Chitra Ketu. When Chitra Ketu's son was dead, so Angira Muni, he bought Narad Muni and he told, just make some miracle. So Narad Muni, he brought that dead child to life, and he told, yes, your parents, they are here, they are very sad. Why don't you again come to life and give them happiness? So this child, he comes literally to life, and he explains how that he was transmigrating in different bodies, and he told this, they were my parents for this life. Now the duration of this life is finished for me. Now I am going into another life. So that way Chitra Ketu and all the kingdom, all the people, so they get a good spiritual insight. So here Prabhupada, he gives two analogies in the purport. So Prabhupada gives the analogy of medicine and the sun. What Prabhupada explains, the effect of medicine spreads all over the body. Certain pills you have to eat. So then what happens, that effect, it covers complete body. Similarly, this Prabhupada gives the example of sun. So this example is given in 13.34 Bhagavad-Gita. If you see the verse, Yatha prakashasya ekam krishnam lokam imam ravi. So Krishna explains, O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all universe, so does the living entity, one within this body, illuminates the entire body by consciousness. This is explained by Krishna in 13th chapter. So Prabhupada explains, each and every body is embodiment of individual soul, and one cannot perceive the pains and pleasures of another body. So there is one survey made by people in material world. People more or less, they do survey. So one survey, what it explains, 90% of the people, they are least bothered whether you are living or dying. I don't know how many of you have this experience. 90% of the people, they are least bothered how you are doing, going with the life. So here we can understand, yes, and in a materialistic sense, everyone is conscious of himself. So Prabhupada writes, consciousness is not due to any amount of material combination. He is refuting the material science, and one cannot be revived by material administration. So like Prabhupada in one lecture, Prabhupada has given one lecture that somebody is crying, my father died, dead. Okay, call some doctor, put some chemicals and tell him to make him revive. That can't happen. So Prabhupada explains that Vedic science, individual soul is present in the heart along with super soul. That he has quoted that verse also. And therefore all energies of the body are emanating from the heart. So it is mentioned, but even it is Prabhupada explains, modern science, Prabhupada explains, it accepts the importance of red corpuscles and the heart as the seat of all energies. So it is mentioned that all our bodily energies, they come from the heart. But it cannot ascertain that the source of energy is the soul. Medical science, unfortunately, they don't accept. Because once they accept the soul, then they have to accept the scripture. Prabhupada in Bhagavad-Gita 7.15 he writes that 4 kinds of people, they don't surrender. So why they don't accept? Like if you see in material world there are some dacoits. So they don't surrender to the government. Why? Once they surrender, they have to go to the jail and they have to do the hard labor. That's it. They can't escape. So that's why they don't surrender. In Karnataka there was one thief. His name was Veerappan. In UP there was a Fulan Devi. They didn't want to surrender because they knew once they surrender, then they have to do whatever the jobs they are given in the jail. So that way, materialistic scientists, why they don't accept? Because once they accept the scripture, then they are under the rules and regulation. There is a saying, while you are in Rome, act like a Roman, but they don't want to do like that. So they know, but they deny. If you see, like many doctors and many other people, if they speak on something spirituality, immediately they are cut off. They are fired. You can't speak again on this matter. You should not use that word spiritual or super consciousness. So in many universities, literally big professors, they are fired only for this, using these terms. What Prabhupada writes, only an insane man can think that the atomic soul is all pervading Vishnu Tattva. This is like for Mayavadis. And what Mayavadi says, that yes, the soul is all pervading, it cannot happen. So here, in another understanding this verse, Mayavadis, they think idam means this material world. Idam here Prabhupada compares to our material body, the soul. So here also Prabhupada explains that analogies he compares, that he explains Hatha Yoga and purification of soul. Hatha Yoga, Prabhupada explains that basically the 5 kinds of wear, they are mainly to purify the soul and elevate the soul from this body, and this way he can be out of this body and he can take the spiritual body, or if he is a yogi in Ashtanga Yoga, he can go as per his desire to sun planet, moon planet, wherever he likes. So now we'll come to the commentary by our acharyas. So Sridhar Swami, what he explains, the imperishable soul whose existence is a reality has been delineated and emphasized in general manner. What he explains, it is a reality. The spiritual soul, he explains it is a reality. Then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, this verse clarifies the meaning of previous verse. Know that Jiva, Tat, which is spread throughout the body, sarvam idam tatam, is indestructible. So further he quotes Esho Anuratma. Then also he quotes Aragya Matra Hya Aparopi Drishya. What he explains, the inferior soul is seen to be size of tip of spoke. Spoke means in a chariot there are spokes. So he quotes from Śvetāśvatara Upaniṣad. And what he explains, because of his dependence on upadhis, mistaken identity, the soul goes around various mistaken identity means about we have upadhis. What Prabhupada explains, first the body, then my community, my country, then international, whatever it is. So because of the upadhis, the soul is going into different bodies. And also Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes 11th canto. What he explains, that according to great sages, that which is basis of 3 modes of material nature and which manifest the variegated universe is called the Sutra, Mahat Tattva. Indeed, the universe is resting within the Mahat Tattva. So he explains, the soul also rests when everything is destroyed. The soul rests into the Mahat Tattva. So then Baldev Vidyabhushan, he explains the Lord explains the nature of Jivatma, and what he explains that know that the substance known as Jivatma is eternal, avināśi. This whole body, idam sarvam, is pervaded by the soul. The body is pervaded by Atma, consciousness, its capacity to know objects beyond itself. Dharma bhuta gina, including the body. So also Baldev Vidyabhushan also has given a long purport. Then Ramanujacharya, what he explains, that it should be understood that the soul is indestructible and is the principle by which the physical body is permeated. The insentient body is completely distinct from the sentient soul. By reason it is pervasive nature, the soul is very subtle. In fact, so exceedingly subtle is the soul that it is verily incapable of being destroyed by subatomic in essence. This is what Ramanujacharya explains. Then Madhvacharya, what he explains, in how many ways is this to be understood? Now, here if you read the verse from 2.11 to 30, so Krishna has given so many different examples of the soul. So Madhvacharya explains in how many ways is to be understood endlessly, not limited by space, eternal, indestructible. It cannot be destroyed by curses or the magic. Also sometimes there are so much cursing and other things are there. That also can't apply. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam there is one nice verse. I will conclude with that verse. It is a very nice verse which mentions that in material world a person, one who doesn't inquire, he's called Atmaha, who is the killer of the soul. Now this here, so far we today understood the soul cannot be killed, but there is one verse explaining Atmaha, the killer of the soul. That verse, it is 11.25:17. So we'll try to understand what exactly it mentions. Nra deham idam adyam sudurlabam sudurlabam plavam su kalpam gurum karnadharam mayanukulena mahabhishvestram pumaha bhavabdir na tareta sa atmaha. So the meaning is that the human body, which can award all benefit in life, is automatically obtained by the laws of nature. Although it is very rare achievement, this human body can be compared to a perfectly constructed boat having the spiritual master as the captain and the instructions of the personality of Godhead as favorable winds, impelling it on its course. Considering all these advantages, a human being who does not utilize his body, his human life, to cross the ocean of material existence must be considered the killer of his own soul. So there is one Prabhupada lectures. So in that what he explains, that a person who is wasting his time, he is also Atmaha, killer of the soul. So here what we see, the scriptures what they mention, yes, one who is not using his body, killer of the soul. Also in the Bhagavatam 5th canto 5.5.5, there is one nice verse by this thing. Who's the father of King Bharat? Rishabdev. Yeah. So Rishabdev, he has spoken in one nice verse. Parabhavas tavad abodha jato yavanna jigyasata atma tattvam. What he explains, that a person, his life is useless, his life is wasted if he has not inquired into the spiritual life. So that's why Vedanta Sutra, the first verse 1.1.1 is Athato Brahma Jigyasa. The soul is also called Brahma. So also there are different names given to the soul. So we'll conclude. We have about 2 minutes time. So anyone has any question or comment on today what we spoke? So today just we spoke about how the soul cannot be destroyed. So there are a good number of qualities mentioned about the soul, more or less spoken in this second chapter.
Prabhu, you have explained about consciousness. So how many types of consciousness? Please repeat again.
Jagruti, Susupti and Swapna. Yeah, these are the three. And the fourth is Brahma Bhuta. There is a Vishuddha Chetna, Vishuddha Tattva. So when we become completely spiritual conscious and we are not affected by the material contamination, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. na sochandi na karcha. There is also, it is mentioned that in Brahma Samhita, premanjana churita bhakta vilochanena santa sadava hrideshu vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achinta guna sarupam. So when we are spiritually situated, then we are not carried away by the material modes of nature. So that, yes, Prabhu.
You have explained very well, but a little confusion. Can you explain a little bit more about the soul and consciousness, the connection? I know
The soul means consciousness, consciousness means soul.
Oh, same.
Same. Yeah. So more this Prabhupada has given 2-page purport, and consciousness Prabhupada has written, and I had not counted. So many times he has explained consciousness means the soul, soul means consciousness. Yeah. That is our spiritual understanding. So materialistic understanding is that they say clinically dead. What is clinically dead? When your pulse goes down gradually, so the soul has to leave the body. So then they say, okay, now iska sharir thanda ho gaya. So okay, that is their understanding. But our understanding is yes, at the time of death, the Yamdutas they come, but they cannot be seen by us. But that person who is leaving the body, he can see that Yamdutas coming. So Kapil Dev mentions to his mother that when a person is about to die, who is not in spiritual consciousness, so he can see the Yamdutas coming. And Yamdutas, what they pull out the soul from the body. Basically, sometimes, cow and all, when they give birth, we sometimes have to help that cow. Also, when we are born, we are pulled out, whatever it is. So similarly, the death, it is mentioned in Garud Puran, death is equivalent to biting by 25,000 scorpions, not one. If one bites. Similarly, the birth is compared to breaking of 20,000 bones. So birth is also miserable. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha dosha anudarshanam. So it is mentioned that the lady who is giving birth, the child who is born, so they have now those who have broken your hand or leg, the pain, how much the swelling and other thing you feel. So now you can imagine 20,000 bones breaking at a time. What will be the pain? That is the pain one experiences while taking birth. Or the woman who is giving, that is called labor pain. There is no labor and happiness in that. So similarly, death is also compared to the biting of by the scorpions. So Hare Krishna. So Bhagavad-Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.